Roman Reigns is the Joker in a massive shock.
No, that's my job, Square Man. Hi, hello. Yes, I am the Walrus, he is the Eggman, and this is what went down at AEW All Out 2022. We've just finished our live stream of the event. Now we're going to tell you all the key things that happened on this show, because it's an AEW pay-per-view and there are a lot of matches on these things. We're not going to go in super detail on any play-by-play or anything like that. We're just going to give you the key beats. Seriously, he's Michael Hamflett, I'm Andy Murray, he's not an Eggman, and I'm not a Walrus. But they opened this pay-per-view, you know, beyond the 0 hour pre-show, which we're not going to quite go over here. They did the casino ladder match first, and it was won by the Joker, baby.
The Joker, baby.
So there was some typical and some atypical stuff in this match. A lot of high spots, as you'd expect. A lot of crazy stunts. Some of them went well. Some of them not so much. But you can read about that all later on WhatCulture.com. The finish is what's really important here. So the Joker won. The Joker's victory was preceded by a gang of people clad in like all black clothing, hoods, the whole lot, wiping every single person in the match out until one final person scales the ladder, takes the chip, and then they take off the mask and it's Stokely Hathaway. And everyone else reveals themselves. It's Ethan Page. It's all the guys, Lee Moriarty, that Stokely has been hoovering up with his business cards lately. Big Cass, W. Morrissey, everybody. The Joker comes down. He is dressed similarly, but he's got a spooky-looking mask on at the same time, brother. The Joker comes down. Stokely already has the briefcase, gives it to the Joker. Ding, ding, ding. Justin Roberts announces the winner of the match as the Joker, who teases taking the mask off, and then goes, walks to the back. Spoiler alert, more to come from that later on, but that's how the show opened. Atypical and typical at the same time. Wild.
Wild indeed, yeah, as you say. More to come on that, and I suppose that's probably the best place to reflect a bit more on that as well.
Yes,
maybe.
Absolutely.
Second up, and again, there will be longer form discussions on this one, if not in this video, because wow, the Elite became the first ever AEW Trios champions with the victory over the Dark Order, of course represented by John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Hangman
John
Page.
Cena, as I kept calling him.
This was Kenny Omega's return to AEW pay-per-view and Kenny Omega's return to being Kenny Omega in full. We have seen the sort of gradual build of his body coming back into full fitness, and that was kind of what this match was there set to display. As well as, of course, the long-standing relationship between the Elite and all the fragmented parts all coming together for one giant moment. There was loads and loads and loads of glorious little details. Not just in terms of looks and stares and melodrama, but in the choice of moves, the particular moments and the flourishes which reflected all of the history between Page and Kenny. There was tons of really great moments that teased out the brawl of the two partners coming together. Page's sort of reunification with the Young Bucks gradually weathering away as the match wore on. The rebuilding, if you will, of a bridge between Hangman Page and the Dark Order, where previously that's been they've been kept separate. They were brought back together again as best friends, which led into a luxurious finish of Hangman Page hitting John Silver with the buckshot lariat when Kenny was able to move out the way. The Young Bucks were then able to stifle Page and Kenny was able to get the win. Nobody was the out-and-out heel here. It was all about the sort of the drama and the stories between, and of course, between the partners and indeed the partners against one another. But the Elite, I think, as we all foresaw as being the first ever, the inaugural Trios champions, this now feels like the thing that Kenny and especially the Bucks are most focused on. And this was a great advert for the division as well. I would say, editorialising slightly, probably the best advert from this entire tournament for the belts, actually. A strong effort, this.
And the whole outcome here, the finish here, just goes to show that friendship is indeed a work. After that, we had Jade Cargill defending the TBS Championship against Athena. This was fun. This was so much fun. It ran about 5 minutes in total, and it was basically a Goldberg match. It was bombs. It was fast flowing. It was quick hitting. It was signature move buffet to a degree. It was some interferences from the baddies, as you'd expect. But ultimately, it was Jade Cargill pinning Athena to go 37-0 and retain the TBS Championship in around 5 minutes. There was O-Faces, there was Jaded's. The finish was actually a bicycle kick. Jade reversed a springboard, hit her bicycle pump kick, whatever you want to call it, and hit the Jaded for the win. I mean, it was a really uncomplicated match in terms of its layout, but probably quite complicated in terms of its execution because there was lots of counters and stuff. For me, one of the best matches of Jade's run so far. Athena put in a really good shift, and while short in its runtime, goes to show that not everything needs to be an epic. Jade retains 37-0. I have no idea who's going to stop her, but it wasn't going to be Athena.
No, but they made, I think, for about 2 minutes, they made you feel like she might, and that was kind of all you needed to feel it for as well. Moving on next to kind of a bit of a pleasant surprise. Not particularly an over-delivery, but definitely a pleasant surprise. Excuse my voice and indeed my pronunciation. It's been a very long weekend. FTR and Wardlow were victorious over Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns. This was more nice than good. There was a couple of double team flourishes from the Guns and FTR, which teased potentially another match down the road, perhaps, or at least one set of the straps that FTR have got, or indeed moving over to Impact should the Guns get those belts, and there's more Forbidden Door stuff later on down the line. But really, this was just about something nice for the baby faces for reasons we would later see. Wardlow gets the win by powerbombing Jay Lethal into mulch with the symphony of powerbombs to get the win for the baby faces. But at the start of the match, Sanjay Dutt had put on a t-shirt where he'd referenced the 8-year-old brat. The girl was scribbled out on his t-shirt, of course, referring to Dax's daughter in that incredible heartfelt promo he cut a few weeks ago on Dynamite. And then at the beginning, Dax brought out his daughter to sort of give them cheer them on to victory, but then brought her out at the end of the match to snap Sanjay Dutt's pencil. All the heels beat him up in front of the daughter. The daughter was on his shoulder. It was all very nice. Like, really sweet moment. And this match that kind of meant nothing felt like it meant nothing until the very end when a kind of nice moment occurred. Samoa Joe returned in all of this, by the way. TV title slung over his shoulder to, I guess, because we're all just still buzzing over the continued hostilities between Joe and Jay Lethal, continue that feud. But somehow got busted open in the melee. So amongst this nice moment where the daughter's on the show is like, why isn't Samoa Joe bleeding? Nobody knows. But anyway, a nice moment out of a match that otherwise probably didn't feel like it would have had a place on the card.
Yeah, I guess Samoa Joe with that has been hanging around with Mr. Jonathan Moxley a bit recently. It seems like a gust of wind would make Mox bleed at the moment. But after that was Powerhouse Hobbs versus Ricky Starks. Now, a match that really took me aback for how short it was. Again, this was only about 5 minutes, and I wonder why that is. I'm interested to hear if this was planned or if maybe someone got hurt. I'm not sure. There was some speculation on Ricky. Obviously, if he's hurt, best wishes to him. We hope he's okay. But 5 minutes, what we got was quality. I mean, they really fought like this was a heated rivalry. They fought with an extra bit of zip and pop in their step. They understood going into this that there was a grudge match, and you're not fanning around with stupid stuff. You're just getting into it. You hate each other, you fight, and they worked some really nice sequences. You could tell from their walk-ups and their tie-ups and their exchanges and the bombs they were dropping on each other that these two have incredible chemistry. Yeah. They had that when they were working together as a tandem. Now they have it as rivals. I'm sure we will get longer matches later down the pipe. Down the pipe, is that the right phrase?
It's good enough.
Down the pike.
It's a pipe or a pike.
Who knows?
It's a Bobby Pike.
Bobby Pike, there you go. Pike Milligan. Yeah. The finish was one of the best spinebusters I've ever seen.
Yes.
Ricky ran to hit the ropes looking for the spear, and Hobbs somehow just picked him up, spun him around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and killed him with his spinebuster. Got the pin. Fightful noted earlier today that Hobbs is in line for a big AEW push. They didn't know if that was going to factor into this result, but maybe after this it does. Either way, I imagine that this was just the first short chapter in a longer in-ring story here.
It doesn't hurt sometimes to have a heel ground a guy into dust, even if it is a star. There's a better day for him. Yeah, we'll see how that one develops, because it was a shock. It did feel abrupt. What was less of a shock and didn't feel abrupt, but was very possibly the match of the night, I think, from certainly an emotional reaction and an emotional response.
Wrestling's meant to make you feel stuff, and this made us feel stuff.
Wow. The match that I think unanimously was seen as just the one thing that would represent that kind of familiar middle-of-the-card sag on a long AEW show did not occur. It couldn't have been more the opposite. The Acclaim challenging Swerve and Our Glory for the AEW Tag Team titles. From the off, everybody loves the Acclaim, not least when they're making Lizzo jokes in the rap before the match and nobody's able to compose themselves. Listen, the match got off to the start you would have expected. The very experienced tag team champions over the sort of overzealous and over-exuberant babyfaces until Anthony Bones slipped from the top rope and appeared to tweak his knee. The babyface of the knee has slipped through the medium of Swerve, who is in no mood to be a nice guy anymore. He just targeted the knee viciously. It was incredible. He did it with a growl and he did it with a snarl. He was clearly embracing his dark side. Keith Lee seemed to at first question whether or not he should be quite so violent, but this is an NXT. He didn't stare at his hands. He stared at that goddamn knee and he targeted it. The two of them were working Anthony Bones, and Anthony Bones was selling Bret Hart level knee selling from Bowens. Billy Gunn crying to get his adopted son back in the ring. Caster gets the hot tag. A multitude of incredible false finishes. Chicago going up and down, undulating. wildly for the Acclaim to get a title win. 3 or 4 proper out-your-chair teasers for the Acclaim to get the win. Everybody's rooting. One false finish feels like another false finish because this time they're going to get it done and this time they're going to get it done. But they don't. Unfortunately, Max Caster is dominated by Lee, leaving him isolated and unable to help Anthony Bowens as the two men rather cruelly put him away.
Really cruel.
Keith Lee wants to scissor Billy Gunn after the match to sort of suggest that it's all cool now, yeah?
It's a
but
match, yeah.
Swerve is less keen on that either. And to be honest, the beating they laid on him suggests that Swerve in Our Glory might be best served just becoming nastier all round anyway. What a star-making night for the Acclaimed. It's an AEW thing to sometimes maybe actually like pump the brakes when an act gets to this point. Go with the Acclaim because this felt like a special one.
Yeah, absolutely. The follow-up is always what's most important, but this was pulsating in both terms of action and character dynamics with the switching heel stuff that the Swerve and Our Glory were doing. Swerve did not like Keith Lee going for the scissoring whatsoever. So there's interesting stuff to come from all of these gentlemen who worked their asses off and in my eye had the best match on the show as well. Up next was the Interim Women's World Championship. There's loads of words in AEW's title names. Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, and not Thunder Rosa, Hikaru Shida. Thunder Rosa's injured. She can't compete. That's why there's an Interim Championship in the first place. She is spaver. The match you expect from this combination of people, they kill each other. They drop bombs. Word to your moms. It's something else. The level of intensity that they've brought to this division recently over the past few months is really to be commended. And this was interesting as well. I'll just skip to the finish because it was comfortably the key talking point here. Jamie Hayter had this match won. She hit a ripcord lariat on Toni Storm and it looked like she was going to score the pinfall. 1, 2... Who pulls the referee out of the ring? Britt Baker. While Toni Storm, I think she kicked out at roughly the same time, but that's what happened. Baker's on the outside. It's like, Jamie, you're my mate, but come on. Yeah, I can't let you win. I can't let you win. Hayter's flipping out a bit. She's like, what the hell are you doing? It's the first real sign of proper big-time tension between these two. They did tease some a little bit towards the end of last year, but this was big time, of course. This allowed Storm to hit the Storm Zero on Hayter. The pile driver is such a snapping, awesome move.
It was wicked. Spiked her.
Britt comes back in the ring, pulls Toni away, gets her the hell out of there, pins her own ally. Jamie Hayter wins the belt. Does she? Did she win the belt?
Toni Storm wins it in the end.
Toni Storm won it in the
kick
belt.
out was the big moment from
Sorry. I've got myself... I'm delirious here. I'm absolutely delirious. I did watch the show. You can see it on the stream. But yeah, there you go. Sorry. It was a DDT, wasn't it? She wiped Britt out with a DDT, and then she pinned Hayter. I've got it the wrong way around.
Yeah, she pinned Hayter.
I got it the wrong way around. I apologise, my very good friends. But yeah, this was fun. Toni, I think a lot of us would have predicted her to book it, to win this. She was the reported winner before Thunder Rosa's injury, and here we go.
I think we both kind of acknowledged watching live that it was nice for the heels of finally miscommunicated being the finish rather than happening mid-match in that kind of fake pro wrestling way. And as you say, like we've been kind of like lingering on this tension for a while. It was nice to see it realised. I'm going to talk longer than the bell time of the next match. It was Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy. We had a video package to remind us it was happening. And when I say remind, I mean, oh yeah, we've got this to get through. Only we didn't. Jungle Boy comes out, announced as Jungle Jack Perry. I should point out Christian Cage came out first and was again jaw-jacking with the Jungle family, the Perrys, who slapped him across the face. So he was already selling yet more aggro with the family. So he's stood in the ring waiting. He's got his arm in some great big thing. And Jungle Boy comes out, is announced as Jungle Boy Jack Perry, goes to the tunnel to await for Luchasaurus, who comes out of the heel tunnel and attacks him from behind. A vicious powerbomb on the grate, drags him down to the floor. I think he attacks him against the rail, drags him down to the announce table. Sorry, the timekeeper's table. Powerbombs him through that, rolls him in the ring for Christian. He's chopped liver. He does kick out of a spear, but then he's finished by the kill switch. It's only something like 20 seconds. Christian and Luchasaurus are incredibly happy with their work. And indeed, the fix was in all along. Luchasaurus was chasing Christian through the stands, but never laying a hand on him. And now we see why. The dinosaur was with his new master all along.
Luchasaurus becoming the big show of AEW. I guess.
Indeed,
turning and turning and turning, but I guess it plays into this
Big Show and Kane all at once.
Kane!
He's both worst characters.
He is. But the two best, actually. But never mind. After that, we had a total polar opposite of what we've just discussed. Danielson and Chris Jericho. For me, maybe didn't live up to the billing like it had. This would have been a lot of people's most anticipated match. Yeah, I don't know, man. It didn't seem like they had the best chemistry in the world. But, the match was won by Chris Jericho. Daniel Garcia, of course, was watching on. I don't know why I just did that voice. That's very strange. From the back. But the way this match played out, it looked like, again, Danielson was in control. He was going to prove himself the best wrestler. He was going to prove himself the American Dragon, better than the Lionheart. However, while the officials' view was completely obscured, Chris Jericho, that bum of a man, hit a low blow, and from there he was able to cover for the pinfall. A dastardly win while Daniel Garcia watched on from the back, leading to some further stuff from them a bit later in the show. Garcia's obviously been critical to this storyline. Now he's, I'll just cover that short segment that happened later in the show now, seeing as we don't need to dedicate a whole thing to it. Jericho backstage was like, hey, when you face Wheeler Yuta for the pure title next week, you're not going to have our help. Where were you, Danny? Where were you, man?
Where were you, man?
Didn't come out, all of that stuff. So that storyline continues. Danielson loses, Jericho wins. Dickhead heel finish. There you go.
Yeah, I shouldn't feel like I had too much on it. And I would say, to an extent, the same for the next one as well. Another sort of highly anticipated trios match. I guess we had the House of Black taking on that kind of like random team of Miro, Darby Allin, and Sting. But Miro's had this long simmering feud with Malachi Black and the House of Black and God, basically, and everybody. So we had much of what you'd expect in terms of Darby Allin, as usual, willing to kill himself for the cause, and lots of like spectacular offense from your buddy Matthews and the big power stuff from Brody King. But I will say, if there was ever a section of this show that had that kind of AEW cool down period, oddly, it was these two penultimate matches.
Yeah.
High profile things, but maybe people perhaps feeling tired and saving themselves for Punk Moxley. I don't know. But Darby Allin's bits were definitely the flashpoints, as they typically are, to be fair to him. And just a couple of other high points. Miro and Malachi Black stuff felt like largely scaled back within the body of a match in a way most unexpected, especially down to the finish. It wasn't Miro involved, but Sting. Malachi Black lined up for what appeared to be a version of his Black Mass with sort of an extra spin, extra sauce on top. And Sting had black toxic juice. All of his own. He's so late. He hit Malachi Black with his own Black Mist. As Malachi Black was selling, the babyfaces got the win. There was speculation online after the fact that, could this be Malachi Black's farewell? That story is obviously going to run and run until we're all told otherwise, I suppose.
It's interesting that he took the fall.
This is it. The leader of his group. There was a sort of, as we were doing the live stream within our sort of comment section, there's kind of like rolling contention, tumbling contention, you may say, about House of Black continuing not really to pick up the wins. This might have more to it after the fact, but in terms of from a narrative point of view, it just didn't really hit upon a lot of the heavy points that kind of set it up to begin with. Good action though, very, very solid trios action if nothing else.
Yeah, not quite as high as some of those really tremendous House of Black matches this year, but from there we got on to the main event. This was this was something else. It was probably the most traditionally styled match on the show, perhaps, in terms of the face-heel dynamic. It was CM Punk fighting for Chicago and Ace Steel and his dog Larry and maybe not Colt Cabana, but the rest of Chicago, certainly. And, really interesting the way the crowd dynamics were played with this one, because early on it sounded a bit 50-50, and there was a lot of people into this folk hero, Jon Moxley, who's been so awesome for AEW and wrestling in general, and of course CM Punk's in Chicago, so he's kind of immortal. But they totally separated that as the match went on. Punk got busted open really early. Moxley attacked the wound. He bit him and stuff. That's what he does, man. He attacked it, and the crowd swayed all the way over to CM Punk's side by the end. They played a little bit of hot potato with the world title here, baby. And you know what? I'm into it because it's different. It's not something they've done with before. It's not something they've spammed, so it kind of works here. What I'm saying is CM Punk is the AEW World Champion again. So here, now, finally, his reign can begin in earnest. It was a second go to sleep that ended up putting Moxley away towards the end. And after that, who came out? But the Joker baby. And this was set up in a really novel way. It was it's MJF, guys, right? It's MJF. The big reveal came, and they did this really cool. The lights went out, and we were sitting there going, it's the Fiend. It wasn't the Fiend. I'm glad it wasn't the Fiend in this situation. They played a voicemail that
They
Tony
did.
Khan had left for Mr. MJF, saying, I know you don't like to care about the fans and all this stuff, blah, 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 but people, we need you back. I'll pay you beep amount. Show up at All Out. Do this. I'll put you in the casino ladder match. A really interesting way of doing things. You know, we saw a video. The Joker is standing there with a mask, takes it off, puts a scarf around their neck. You know who it is, even though you can't see the face at this point. And then, Maxwell Jacob Friedman comes out. It's him. You know it's
Huge
him.
bap.
He's got the world title shot. He's at the top. He's signaling, doing the classic, I'm going to get that belt from you, PG Punk. And that appears to set that up. So we got the big MGF return. We got CM Punk winning the title in his hometown. There we go. That was All Out. A really well-paced pay-per-view this time around, I think. Goes to show that I think, like, when you judge the length for shows, looking at a number isn't the real way to do it. It's how does it all put together? How does it flow? Does it feel too long? Sometimes a 2-hour show feels too long. Yeah. And a 4-hour main card like this can kind of fly by. So, hey, here we go. I had a good time tonight, man. I am knackered, as you can tell by forgetting the result of one of the matches from a thing that I just watched on our stream. But yeah, there we go, man. Good show.
Yeah, good one. Well, definitely, I think pacing is more key than it is length. And this one felt like, I think you said it, like lessons were learned. It felt tonight. Never going to nail it, I don't think, with that many matches. Something will typically always suffer. But the big surprise is what the thing people are going to leave talking about, the big match that's probably going to come up between these two. They've done, if nothing else, immediately got people on the hook for the week to come.
Exactly.
And that's all we need after such a long show as well.
Exactly. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank
like,
you.
share, subscribe, rate, comment, all of that. I'm pretty sure I just said all the same things. Follow us on Twitter at WhatCulture WAB. You can follow Michael Hamflet at
Michael Hamflet.
And you can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hey. I've got to like really awkwardly go over there and press the stop button. So can you just be entertaining? And I will do that.
I've never been entertained in my life, and I'm not about to start now. But yes, to echo the other stuff we've said, there's going to be lots more all-out coverage coming throughout the week, as well as post-Clash at the Castle stuff. Wrestling never stops, and neither will we, but we will see you soon.